Welcome to the Mortgage Wise radio show and video podcast, where we educate and provide expert advice on personal finance, mortgages, and real estate investing.
Show me the money.
As a result of what we do, our team has helped hundreds of first-time buyers, experienced buyers, and real estate investors achieve their goals of home ownership.
I wonder if there's a connection there.
Here are your executive producers and mortgage advisors, Randy and Veronica Chambliss.
All right, guys, welcome.
Welcome.
Can you guys hear us okay? Can somebody give us a thumbs up, a like, a chat in the box saying that you can hear us okay?
A heart, because
I hear you.
Good. Thank you, Miss Gloria. Because last week we lost about 10 minutes of good information.
Thank you, man. We appreciate you. And we love the fact that you're so supportive. So thank you very kindly as well. So listen, guys, we're going to get started today. I am Randy Chambliss. I'm the executive director of Louisiana Housing Authority, and I'm also a corporate branch manager with Geneva Financial. And I have to my right.
I'm Veronica Chambliss, and I'm also a corporate branch manager with Geneva Financial and a director of housing with Louisiana Housing Authority. And today, guys, well, first I want to say that you said today you're Randy Chambliss. Who you is tomorrow?
Today? The beautiful thing about going live, right?
Right.
I hope I'll be Randy Chambliss tomorrow.
Please. All right. So in this episode, we're going to discuss our 100% financing Houses for Heroes down payment assistance program. So the program, well, this fund was established to give back to not only military, active reserves, and veterans, but also firefighters, law enforcement, EMS, nurses, doctors, and other healthcare professionals and teachers. So while people do manage to purchase a home by saving up for a down payment over a period of time, but we have things like COVID-19, increase in home prices, and stagnant of low wages that make it quite difficult for some people to do the same. But by helping responsible home buyers to overcome the challenge of the minimum investment required for a mortgage, our fund is helping to create a healthy community, right?
Absolutely. And, it's just extremely important, guys, that we do help our heroes have financial wellness, right? We hear a lot about health wellness, and that's a critical piece to life. But also we want to be able to serve them and having a peace of mind, having a personal finances in order so they can have financial wellness. And again, we're talking about not just veterans, we're talking about firefighters, EMD workers, doctors. We're talking about anybody in the medical professional, CNAs, right? LPN, anybody that's in that medical profession, teachers, right? And it's so critical that we have a resource and a tool for these individuals, because every day there are first responders on the front line, right? Yeah. When we send our children off to school, or they're at home, homeschool, and they're online, right? Mm-hmm. That teacher is responsible for their thinking, for their mind at that point, for those little kids' mind. Right. And if that teacher's having a bad day, then that energy is going to transmitting into those children, right? That's right. Same thing is, your doctor, your nurse, when you're going for a checkup or not, you want that doctor, that nurse, that LPN, whoever's there serving, you want them to have the best, you want to have the best experience. You want them not to be worrying about bills, not to be worrying about foreclosure, not to be worrying about rent, not to be worrying about how they're going to pay their rent because it's so expensive. We want them to have a peace of mind so they can be more efficient. They can have more clarity, and then they can serve the clients better. So, those are some benefits, guys, that we certainly want to be able to, help our heroes.
That's right. I mean, these are people that's taking care of us, taking care of our family members, taking care of our children. I can remember when my son, Ryan, he's 10 now, but when he was about, 6? Dang. 5 or 6, no, about 6 or 7, he would come home and get the little stuffed animals and place it around the living room. And I'm like, Ryan, put that up. Meanwhile, he's acting like he's a teacher, and he's screaming and hollering at these stuffed animals. And I'm like, why are you screaming like this? Do your teachers talk like this? He's like, Well, sometimes,
Like what?
So
They're
that's
stressed,
because, right,
right?
they're stressed out. So if we can help them overcome the challenge of purchasing a home or, coming up with a down payment, because that may be some of their worries, right?
Right. Where they gonna live at, right?
Exactly.
During COVID-19, people lost their livelihood. People passed away and moved on, but also people lost their livelihood. So today, guys, we're gonna talk a little bit about that. So we're gonna pull up some of the products that we could serve with, and I would just start off by saying this: it's a national program, right, that we chose to be a part of, right? It's a national program that in the past, they never ran out of funds before, right? Unlike sometimes you in different states that you might have a state buying money that might give you 3%, et cetera, but you have to fill out an application, you have to wait and have confirmation that the funds are going to be available. And then sometimes the funds are not available and it may not be available for 3 months. Well, that person is ready to buy now. Well, this particular national fund, it never ran out of funds in the past. We can't predict the future, but we know that that's the history of it. And it's not a grant, if you will. It is a financing program. Literally, what we do, we help finance the down payment, right? And we stretch it out over a period of years. It could be just a 10-year finance tool, right? Well, 10-year term, right? And throughout the 10 years, they make fixed monthly payments to that, right? For example, we had a buyer that was short on cash, right? They fell in love with a property. When we looked at the numbers, we did our evaluation, ran everything, and they were short on cash, but they really, really loved the home. And it was a hero, right? And so what we did, we came up with a solution and said, listen, we have something for you. Let us run some numbers. And then what we ended up doing is doing a down payment assistance for them. It's a 10-year term for them, and it was $8,000. So it was 5%, right? Because some of our down payment assistance products can go up to 5%, right? And sometimes
that's 5% of the purchase price,
right,
towards your down payment, and you can use some of that towards your closing costs.
Absolutely. So, example, you have a home ready conventional loan, or if you have a conventional 97% loan, or if you have an FHA loan, right? These are different loan products, right? Then the FHA loan will require a minimum of 3.5% down. Home ready conventional might require 3.5% down, but we can cover that cost through a loan, that 3% or that 3.5%. Or we may be able to go up to 5%, and like Veronica just mentioned, not only cover the cost of the 3% or the 3.5%, but we can have money left over that could pay for some of the closing costs.
So think about today. Today, that's the perfect time to use this because we're in a seller's market, right? So every beautiful home that hit the market is gone within 2 days or so.
Quick.
So this kind of gives you leverage. So if you use this program, and if you qualify, because there are some guidelines in place, and you have to qualify. So, but if you do qualify for that one particular program that gives you up to 5% towards your down payment and closing costs, think about if the seller is paying a little bit of your closing costs, because today you don't really see them paying too much of it, but at least we'll give you the other portion of that, or some of that, and it'll cover majority.
Right, to make up the difference. And like Veronica mentioned, it's the piggyback. It could be combined, right? So for example, you may stumble across a seller that's super motivated and you have an FHA loan and they're gonna give you 6%, because on an FHA product, the seller can contribute up to 6% of the loan amount, of the purchase price, to your closing costs and prepays, right? And so now you're able to get that 6% from the seller, right, to help pay for closing costs and prepaid. And we could combine that with the down payment assistance program for our heroes. And now they could come to the table with very minimum, or sometimes maybe zero, disclosure. That'll happen a lot, right? But we've had a client that literally brought, what was the check that he brought to the table?
Zero.
Nothing. Zilch.
And he bought a $300,000 house.
335.
Right. 335.
335, 330, something like that.
And that doesn't happen often,
no,
but it's case by case.
Right, because the seller was motivated at this point. They wanted to help them. They wanted to get the house sold, and it was just perfect timing, right? But my point of saying that it could be combined, right? Or like Veronica's point, if the seller say, no, we ain't giving you nothing, right? Either take it, I'm going to the next buyer, then you still have some help to be able to serve you, right? So let's look at, Veronica, if you could share like a couple of the products that we can actually offer.
So we have 5 different programs. Two of them, it has to be a conventional loan, and we have 3 that can be combined with a FHA loan. So for example, with the Home Ready program, that program only allows a minimum of 3% down payment. But with our down payment assistance, we can give you up to 3.5%. So what that means that other 0.5% can go towards your closing costs, right? And with that, that's a 10-year term, is a second mortgage that is repayable. It's a 10-year term, and the interest rate is 2% higher than the first mortgage interest rate. So if that rate is, let's say, is in the threes, then that means that second mortgage, then the rate is going to be in the 5s, right? So the minimum credit score is a 640. And the first time home buyers requirement is not required, and you don't have to take any first time home buyer education courses for that.
And that's huge. Let me jump in right there, because oftentimes when you have to get assistance from a down payment organization, they're going to require that education course, right? And that course costs, right? And so for this product, there's no home buyers education course you have to take. You don't have to come up with the extra money. Now, there's one of them, or maybe a couple of them, that does require an education course, but we will cover it for that person, right? They don't have to come out of pocket. We've done that before in the past. We actually cover that cost for that course.
And usually it's for people that whose credit score is a 620 or 620 below a 640.
Correct.
But the minimum credit score, especially for the FHA loans, is 620. So, and again, it's a second mortgage. Some of them are, we have one in particular that's forgivable.
Yes.
So it's a 30-year term, 0% interest rate. But after 3 years or 36 months of on-time consecutive payments of the first mortgage, the second loan is forgivable.
Think about that, right? So you get yourself locked in, you have your closing costs, a majority of your closing costs, you have your down payment. And if you just pay your mortgage, this second mortgage, first mortgage on time for just 36 months, then you can call and say, listen, I want you to evaluate my history, and I want to take advantage of that forgivable loan, right? And by the way, I should throw out there, there's no prepayment penalty, right? So if you decide to refinance, or you decide to, you just have some extra cash, you want to pay off that second mortgage, then you certainly could do that, right? Without any prepayment penalty. Just to give you a number on a cost, right? I'll use the example I used earlier. We helped a hero, right, with $8,000, right, as a second mortgage for their down payment, and some of that went to the closing cost. Well, it's a 10-year term, fixed rate, and the monthly payment was about $80, $88 a month, right? So nothing too major, something that they could get in, get the home. Hopefully they have some equity. They can refinance if they want. But the point is, we have to help our heroes to get in the home. So those of you who are just joining us, we're talking about housing for heroes, right? We're talking about a down payment assistance program, financing program that Veronica and I have, that we implemented to better help our heroes. Who are those heroes? Well, the heroes are our active veterans, our non-active veterans, our teachers, our doctors, our LPNs, CNAs, RNs, right? Anybody in the medical profession, right? Those teachers that value our children so much. Those fight police officers, right? I can't miss that. Firefighters, we can't miss that neither. All these individuals I just named as part of our heroes, they first responders. They're out on the front line, and we want to serve them. We want to help them have financial wellness so they can take care of our children and take care of our family members in a time of need. So that's what we're talking about today, guys.
Yeah.
What's the next one that we have?
Well, the next one, we pretty much covered it.
Okay.
We're not going to cover every last one of them, but what I can say is some of them does have income limits. But that's where we come in and we do a consultation with you, and we decide to recommend a product that will fit your situation.
Correct. And so we have a no fee guarantee. We don't charge it for the consultation. We schedule a time. And what we do is just simply ask some questions, right? You might hear me say, hey, listen, if you don't mind, I'm gonna ask you a few questions to see how can I serve you best? How can we come up with that best financial strategy? Is that fair, right? Most people are gonna say what? Absolutely, let's make it happen. So we ask you certain questions like, hey, what's your credit score? Have you pulled it recently, right? What do you work at, right? How long have you been in that industry, right? Simple questions so we can know what direction or what path to be able to take that person. And if it's a no-go, if they're not ready at that moment, then we just don't tell that person you don't qualify. We hang up the phone, we go about our business. We don't do that, right? We servant leaders. So we're gonna give you an action plan and say, okay, based on what you told me, you're not quite ready yet. But if you do A, B, C, and D, oh, by the way, you got an ink pen, write this down, right? A, B, C, and D, and I have them repeat it back to me, so I know they have that game plan, right? And so now when they get off the phone with us or they're in person with us, now they have an action plan. And then we follow up with them from time to time. We have our assistants that's working with us to follow up. And so we just keep them in the pipeline. And then eventually, oftentimes, most people call back 3 months, 6 months down the road and say, hey, we've done A, B, C, and D, and I think I'm ready, right? And so, having said that, once you give us a call, we do that free consultation. And now if that person is ready to go, then we actually do an application. We move forward. That way we can see the numbers in real time, right? And once we do the application, we do some playing around with the numbers, trying to find out the best strategy. And then we come to that client and say, listen, this is what we think that would have fit you. Here's A, here's B option, maybe here's C option. What would you like best, right? So it's not Burger King. You don't get it your way all the time, but we want to at least give you your options so you can pick and choose what's best for you. And at that point, once they choose their product, then we just ask for documents, right?
Right. If they want to get pre-approved.
Right. Well, if they want to get pre-approved, ask for those documents. We get those documents in, and those documents are things like bank statements, right? We want to make sure that they do have enough cash on hand to be able to close, right?
And that's the last 2 months of bank statements, all pages, even the blank pages.
One page?
Even the blank ones.
Okay. So we want to make sure we get those documents, because when you're working with your realtor partners, right? We have a lot of realtor partners, and the last thing we want them doing is driving around town, showing you houses, and you're not pre-qualified or not even pre-approved.
And that's the last thing anybody should want to do.
Right. Because our realtor partners, they are 1099, they're business owners, right? They're very disciplined in their business. And so we want to make sure we're respectful of their time, right? So, hey guys, those are some guidelines for our heroes. If you want more information, how can they get in touch with you, Veronica?
Well, my cell phone number is 504-715-4388, and I'm on social media at Veronica Chambliss. And you can also reach me online at vknowsmortgages.com, and that's VEE-knowsmortgages.com. And
so I could be found on Facebook or Instagram at Mr. Randy Chambliss. My direct number is 504-270-2783. Feel free to text me, call me, send me an inbox on social media, and I'll respond, right? And if you want to go online, you can find me at randyknowsmortgages.com. We're here to serve, guys. God bless, and enjoy the rest of your day on purpose. Take care.
Take care.
Good night, you all.
Good night.
Good night, ma'am. Enjoy your night.
Thank you. You too.
Show and Video Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, feel free to share it with a friend and subscribe. Please follow us on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook at The Mortgage Wise Radio Show. If you want to learn more about what we talked about today, give us a call at 504-270-2783. Or to view our podcast library, please visit our website, themortgagewiseradioshow.com. Until next time, choose to have a great day on purchase, Mortgage Wise friends.
Go home.
Go home. Enjoy your day, guys.